Hey everyone, I'm Erin Mastropietro, joined alongside Michael Benatar, and this is the Call Me Crazy podcast, where we interview inspiring entrepreneurs like today's guest, Tina Schweiger, who is on her 9th business. She's a founder of Mindful Appy because feelings matter, but we'll get into that later. Tina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Erin was saying feelings matter all morning because she knew you were coming on. She's like, hashtag feelings matter.
I love it. I love it. Do you want to tell us about Feelings Matter and the story behind Mindful Appy?
Oh my goodness. It's a long and winding road to get me to this point of many, many businesses that I thought your podcast title was excellent. Call Me Crazy. I started a business. Oftentimes we just jump right into that because of circumstances or for whatever reason. And we end up with a business. Usually we haven't even been prepared to run one. So I was very much the same back in 2002 when I started a boutique design agency. And then over the years, I just had a bunch of employees. I learned a lot of hard lessons, eventually sold that business. And overall, what I really found is that I care about how people feel work and life. Like if you're not enjoying your work, you're not enjoying your life. Mm-hmm. And the whole work-life balance thing never really made sense to me. It was more of an integration. And at work, often people I found can get really toxic and they can get really bad feelings. And I just was like, I think it's time for me to step out of the marketing and advertising business. I'm going to get a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology and figure out. Yes, I'm in the process of that. And I'm figuring out how to quantify and put a numeric value to emotions so that we can monitor, track them, and talk about them with a little bit more data behind it.
And so with this app, are you say we want to bring it into our company, Dope Dog. Mm-hmm. How do you, because I was reading the website and it seems like you don't need anything extra. You don't need anything. And it's just kind of an alert to, hey, how are you feeling? Because I think there was an app a while ago I downloaded that was trying to track your emotions. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of interesting because you don't really think about it a lot throughout the day, right? You just go through the day, or maybe I'm hungry now, maybe I'm a little tired, or maybe I'm doing this, but to actually think about it, I think it's a big step towards that mindfulness even more, because now you can know and understand like, oh, I'm actually not in a good mood. Maybe I shouldn't do a meeting right now.
Exactly. It's actually not in the App Store. It's not a consumer app yet. This is simply a business to business model right now. So the intention is the technology anonymizes and aggregates emotional data. So for example, if you're a business and you really want to know, how is COVID affecting all my employees? How is it affecting my frontline employees versus my IT staff, versus the accounting department or the executive team or different regions. So you disperse and collect all of this emotional data, and then it aggregates it anonymously and then assigns a singular metric that you can look at and see where the problem areas lie. So it's a diagnostic tool.
And this doesn't exist. I mean, I've done I don't think it exists. I've done a ton of team trainings with corporate America, and this sounds really, really cool.
It's really different. Yeah, it's my brainchild.
How did you kind of start it out? Because I imagine you in Excel or something, like just writing all this down. Like, I feel this way right now, or I feel this. Did you test it on your other previous companies, something similar?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we actually have a client, a channel partner with National Alliance for Mental Illness. They deploy it. We built it. We tested it amongst ourselves. We tested it with a large group of over 150 people this past summer when my husband contracted COVID. And I was being inundated with all this emotional grief and couldn't bear to just continue to keep everything up and communicate with everyone. So we road tested it with COVID. We've tested it with about 3 or 4 different organizations and aggregating it. With NAMI, they do workplace interventions for mental health and stress management. So we'll take samples of people's emotions before the event and then samples of people's emotions after the event. It helps them communicate to their clients that the programs that they're implementing are making a difference of some kind.
And with that data, say in a smaller scenario, maybe like everybody's working from home right now, I think that might even be more like informative to know that your employee, maybe he's not feeling that great because he's working from home. and maybe you're not communicating well, but what do you do with the data after, and how do you get that to implement something beneficial after, like, okay, Aaron's sad. How do we, what's next?
The most important thing that we had to make a decision on was psychological safety. So one of the things that's really important, first of all, it's not even natural sometimes to pay attention to how you feel all the time. In a workplace, if you really dislike another person, or you're not happy with your boss or the decisions that the company is making, generally speaking, you don't feel safe speaking up about that. That's pretty typical because people could be retaliatory. So we decided that 100% anonymity on everything. So to administer this, you actually won't know who exactly is suffering. You're going to know where people are suffering, in general, how many of them, what percentage of them. There's a minimum of 6 on any results to even be shown. So you have to have a group size of 6 with 6 responses.
And
so you can't really figure it out backwards of who it was.
And so what was the importance about it being anonymous? Because sometimes would it be like, in my head, for some reason, I'm thinking, okay, you're upset, you're at a big company, you go to HR and you say, hey, workplace not doing great. And then, like, hey, Joe's being really weird to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Get him out of here. The anonymous part, how did you come up with that part in the business? Because I think it's a lot different than most.
Safety. It's feeling safe to express yourself, because when you feel safe to express yourself, you can give them the middle finger and nobody's going to know that it came from you. You could even, get your teammates together and say, you know what, we're all unhappy right now. We're going to show that in our responses. And your emotions change and your state changes from day to day. So one day you could be just having a bad day, or you could be really, really being the victim of a Me Too incident, for example, the victim of corporate bullying. There's umpteen reasons why you would want to have protection and safety when you express how you feel. So it's very intentional.
That's great. And how, talking more about the business, how did this become your next business? When did you know that this crazy idea inside your head, you're like, I'm going to make this and I'm going to help a lot of workplaces be a better mindful place?
I am a person of service, right? My business has always been a design firm, a marketing firm. I have always been in the business of helping others succeed. When I got into industrial organizational psychology, which I'm taking through Harvard University's Extension School, which is very, very great. I honestly, all of the research and learning how to do scientific research, learning how to do statistics, to read statistics. And I was inspired by reading about Csikszentmihalyi, which is the inventor of flow, which is a positive psychology state of a total immersion in your career. I'm an artist. You have creative immersion. You're in painting, or you're an athlete and you're skiing, and you have a sense of time that just, it goes away, and your stress goes down. Researching mindfulness and meditation, and just knowing that focus of the mind really helps stress melt. I got so inspired by the story of Csikszentmihalyi in the 1970s when the pager was invented, and the pager inspired him to create experience sampling method. And here I am, a designer, user experience designer, and I'm like, wow, I really want to study the human experience, and here's a method. Guess what? We don't have to use pagers anymore.
Yeah, I didn't even know pagers were made in the 70s. For some reason, I thought they were in the 80s. I don't know why.
Yeah, 70s.
70s.
Yeah.
And so with all that, because I've heard about the flow state, I don't know, in some books, just talking about going to a coffee shop and working. Sometimes people get in that flow state because of the unfamiliarity of being somewhere with like some bustle or something, just kind of getting out of those comfort zones, I guess, and building into the flow state. What do you do in your normal day to not achieve the flow state, but to be more mindful of your feelings and everything like that?
I do remind myself that feelings matter, and it helps in my romantic relationship, because you can always disagree, and it's easy to just discount, how you feel. And I'll just say to my husband, you know what, feelings matter, and this is how I feel, so I'm just going to own it. And I think actually getting to that place personally allowed me to start a business where I can be of service to many more people at a bigger scale. And that's my motivation. Back to your earlier question, I have 25 years almost business management or owning a business. I have plenty of experience. I know all the technology. I know all the marketing. I know all the ins and outs of it. And honestly, it's time for me to just take my passion and own it and launch it and make the world a better place. And I got this inspiration, and I was like, why is no one doing this? And I just have to do it.
I love it.
Are you starting hyperlocal in Austin, where you're based, and finding some companies to start out with, or are you just taking it national right away?
Well, we're going to fundraise. So I'm looking for, there's a very good set of VCs right now that are looking to fund A, in mental health, and B, in women-led companies, particularly in technology companies. So I'm going to take advantage of that. I've been applying for some grants. My husband and I he's my technology partner. He's the back end data. I do all the front end stuff. We have a small team where we'll take on client projects, but in the meantime, in the gaps, in the spaces, we're building out this technology. We're starting our own podcast. We're doing our own marketing. We're self-funding it. And then when we do land that investment money, it's just going to be, expanded. We're getting public relations. I'll get strategically placed articles. I've got a couple of plans that I think are going to make a little bit of a splash, I hope.
I can tell you've done this 9 times. This is your 9th business.
Yeah,
have you fundraised for previous businesses?
Yes, I have. Definitely.
And well, tell us about the experience with exiting, because I think that's interesting to a lot of, entrepreneurs. We're in our 4th year of Dope Dog, and, maybe down the road, there might be some sort of an exit, and we've never done it. So I'm curious too, what is that process and what did that look like for you? And actually, I'm curious what those businesses were too.
Yeah. So I sold my design firm to a marketing firm out of Dallas because it services, my clients went with it. My staff went with it. Mm-hmm. So I went with it. I had that 4-year earn-out period. So they've got you in that 4-year period, and it was great. It's a delicate dance in any case. You're always going to have a clash of cultures if you're actually going to go with. You have a product business, so you may just be able to, let it go to a larger thing. But if you go with it, and you may want to do that, the culture is going to be very different regardless. So you have to navigate those things. The financial transaction, it's not that easy. It's not that easy to navigate it.
How did you find that firm in Dallas to buy your business? Because I think that is the weird part of selling a business or getting acquired. There's not just like one spot for it. It seems like a lot of the people I've spoken to is just random, or you just kind of like meet somebody and that person knows somebody, and right at the beginning of actually starting Dope Dog, somebody did offer to buy out 50% of Dope Dog. And we obviously said, no, we're still here today and doing what we're doing. But it is interesting at certain times. How did you find this business?
I found this business, it was after the economic crash of 2008. 20% of my receivables were uncollectible. I was facing bankruptcy, quite honestly. I had a line of credit. I was overextended. I had started a clothing line and didn't manage my business manager that well. And I was at the bottom. And at a certain point, I scraped myself together enough to rebuild. And when I rebuilt, I realized I still have tiny business problems, and I still have the clients who go bankrupt and won't pay you. And then I have to go into my savings. And I'm like, I'm just tired of it. I'm ready for bigger, greater, and better challenges. And I did exactly what you say. I went out to my network. I said, hey, I'm looking to roll my business up into something bigger. I'm ready for bigger challenges. I've went to anybody that would listen to me and said, this is what I'm looking for. And it didn't take too long to find a firm that was like, what, the principal owner wants to build a retirement home in Wimberley. Austin is a great place to have another location for his business. So it was perfect.
And with that business, the design business, did you, when it was, I guess what I'm trying to say, like when you rolled it up, was there a big changeover of a lot of, like, did you fire people, or did you have also recurring revenue that you could easily say, hey, this is appealing, so why don't you come over here or keep this staff? What were those interactions? Because I'm very curious, because it's such a, I always hear people say like, oh yeah, I sold my business. Those small micro transactions of like, oh yeah, you're going to keep these people, or we actually had recurring revenue, so you're going to get a lot of recurring revenue from us, and there's actually new clients. How did that all come into play?
a lot of decisions, kind of like building a house.
Yeah.
You have so many decisions that are always so unique to you and your situation that there's no book for. The same with selling a business. Part of the challenge is valuation. You can value a business in a variety of different ways. If you're a services business, there's some rule of thumb for service businesses and how it's valued. I did have recurring revenue. I did have clients that had been around for 7+ years. And
Wow.
I did have a staff that fit the profile of the gap in staffing of the acquiring firm. So while there was a natural fit and skill, while there was a very attractive recurring revenue, a client that would prove to be a 7-figure value client.
Yeah.
How that's vested, how long you have to stay, what the terms are of the agreement. Maybe you have to hit in certain sales numbers. Every little point of that deal is up for negotiation.
Yeah. That's so wild.
It's challenging, really.
Yeah.
And then all of the staff came over. However, I experienced a huge culture change between, your button down Dallas khaki pants and your Austin tattoos and dyed hair. It was very different. So I had a bit of attrition. There was attrition on both sides. And, it was 2014 and some of the employees are still with the acquiring firm.
Wow.
I still do consulting. I had a call with them earlier today, just as a subject matter expert in a couple of key areas. I jump in. I did decide after my vesting period was up to sell back half my shares so that I could cash out a bit, go to graduate school, have a little bit of breathing room to explore new possibilities, while at the same time keeping my interest in the company.
Wow.
Because I do believe in it. It's a great firm. It's growing. It's cool. So I wanted to have the best of both worlds, and I just asked for that. And
that's great.
They said sure.
That's so cool.
And what was the second company that you sold after that one? Because I feel like that was your first one. You got it in.
That was the second one. The first one was a merger. So
okay.
The first exit was a merger, and that was directly during the throes of the 2008 crisis.
Okay.
I had a staff of 12, and I think I had to lay off like 75% of people at once. I had encountered other firms that had competing skills, and it was really like, let's band together. Let's consolidate our clients. Let's consolidate our staff. Let's consolidate all of our expenses and survive. So the first exit, it is a business sale. It's just a different kind where you're just combining at equal levels and you're sharing. And then the second one I had was that full kind of just like, you own it all. The original entity is no longer, and I'm part of something different.
So the first one, it was technically a potential competitor that you ended up just going in together on.
Exactly.
And you had crossed paths before, and you already knew? Did you know of them, or was it kind of like you saw each other?
Yeah, it was a little crazy. It was a little spontaneous.
Okay.
And we did have some personality conflicts where just some pretty substantial life changes had us taking turns where we just kind of sold. My assets, my recurring revenue clients, the value of that was purchased out. So the merger, then when we split apart, it was like we had to sort of, this is the challenging thing, untangle, kind of like you take the chocolate milk that you made and you want to have chocolate and milk.
Doesn't sound
easy.
Do
that?
Some science.
For sure.
Delicately.
So with your new company now, Mindful Appy, where do you see this going? Like after you get your first round of, the finances, you're raising money. Where do you see that going? Like, what do you want to try to do with Mindful Appy? Do you want to have it take over the, work from home cruise everywhere? Cause I think that's a big place that could definitely use something like this.
Well, employee experience is my first target. The technology I built is quite applicable for customer experience. I've decided to focus on employee experience. I think customer experience is fully explored. This technology is something that will be quite different for the employee experience area. Given that, there's a lot of targets that I would have for a potential exit, which is what I would like to do, which is build it to a certain level of valuation because it's a SaaS model, because it's a product, because it's not based on service, my valuation is going to be at a completely different level than a services-based business. So I want to maximize that and go after a large target for acquisition. Maybe it's a survey firm like Qualtrics or Gallup, or an HR software company that's very large, a staffing company, Google, I don't know, a big one though. That I think my professional goals are, after all kinds of decades slogging through the tiny business, I'm ready for, just got my big guns on, and I'm gonna go for the big goal here.
Well, it sounds like you already have a different mindset going into this, and having opened and sold so many businesses, you kind of think about it with a bigger scale for sure. And
I have the benefit too. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just thought that it's important to know my co-founder is my husband. He's a technology entrepreneur. He's had exits. He went through, was about to sell to Jack Dorsey, a technology firm that he created. The last 24 hours before we were literally packing up to move to San Francisco, their new lawyer came in and said the deal is not going to happen, and put a nail in it. What would have been a life-changing event where we would have left 10 years ago and been a resident of San Francisco. Wow. So I can't even tell you what an amazing asset it is to have him just partnering with me. Everything that I've learned and gone through, especially in my second exit, I benefited from his experience. So it's amazing to have that partnership.
And how do you like working with your husband? Because we are, we're going to get engaged soon. I mean, no, get married soon. We're already engaged, but now we've been working together. We live together. We work. It's a lot togetherness. Yeah. So how's that been with you?
Oh my gosh. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie. I love working with him. It was when we were first together, that engagement and getting married, it was hard to work together. So congratulations. We did not do it so well at the very beginning. We both had really strong ideas and opinions, and we just couldn't, we're very stubborn. But I tell you, what we have done is develop the utmost respect for one another and our professional skills. So there's areas where he knows that I'm going to be the one that makes the decision.
It's okay.
I know that he's going to be the one that makes the decision, and we're really careful where that boundary line is, and it exists, and we maintain that utmost respect. So if you can have that utmost respect, you can put it aside and go on a date night and try not to talk about your children or your business.
Which is hard.
You talk about your dogs.
Yeah, we talk about our dogs.
Talk about the dogs. Yeah. Because it's hard to really have those boundaries too when you're working together and just trying to make it feel like a work environment when it clearly isn't, because we're in our den room right now, and at dinner we'll talk about what we're doing, and there's no real escape sometimes, and I think that's the hard part, especially with working from home. But even so, I'm even thinking oh wow, down the road it'd be great to just have an office to go to have that separation to get out a little bit, and that's. So I don't know. That's just something
good and bad. It's good because you know each other so well, and you can move things along and have the conversations over dinner if you want, but it's so intertwined, so that becomes a challenge and a benefit at the same time.
So true. I mean, you're going to navigate it in your own way, and I think if you have that commitment and you have the love and you have the good foundations for a marriage, you can absolutely make the business part of it work. I think it could strengthen it.
Yeah,
sure.
So good luck.
Yeah, we're doing it. So I'm excited about everything. Aaron, do you want to ask the question, the call me crazy question?
Let's have you phrase it this time.
I never do it well. This is call me crazy. We always ask the question, call me crazy. What is that point in your life when somebody called you crazy about doing a business move or a life move or just something funny? It doesn't have to be wild, but I feel like there's always a story where, hey, Tina, why are you so crazy for doing X? That's how I would phrase it.
I don't know why, but the first thing that popped into my head was, Tina, why are you so crazy? You get up at, why is my dog chewing up a paper? You get up at 4:42 in the morning before high school to go swim in 50-degree water outside all year round, and you're a student athlete like that, I couldn't do it anymore. That was crazy. I'd get up at the dark 30 and go swim. But I guess it taught me the dedication and discipline to undergo unpleasant situations for a greater outcome.
Yeah, they could at least heated up the pool for you or something. 50 degrees. That is cold.
Well, isn't it now good to jump into cold water?
It's good, but it's not comfortable. I'll tell you that.
No, that's terrible. At like 5 a.m, like who does that? That's crazy. It's
dark. Yeah, not fun at all.
Crazy.
So your website is mindfulappy.com.
Mm-hmm.
Great website to check out. And I think, can people go there and get like a free sample or try it out?
Yeah, I'll give you my status. So right now you could go and sign up for a daily pulse. It's free.
Okay.
Put your phone number in. We don't know who you are. You just throw your number in there. Every day you're going to get a question to check in on how you do. You can look at the aggregated responses and see generally how everyone else is doing that's so on this same list, right? It's just by text message. So it's fun as a mindfulness exercise to learn how to start thinking about and paying attention to your emotions. In the future, I'll do an app for that, and there'll be all kinds of other cool stuff with it.
I love it.
The business side of it, we are getting ready to roll out, I would say probably 6 to 8 weeks away, where a company can actually go in and create their own account and get their first free emotional tracker for their first group of employees for free. So stay tuned with it, because we are definitely going to be leveraging our very first year of collecting all this great data with a whole bunch of free offerings for people to try this out for free, because feelings matter.
Yeah.
Hashtag feelings matter. I love it.
Well, we're gonna sign up for sure.
We'll put all the information in the notes, because I think having more data to see and being able to see what everyone else replies, anonymously, of course, I think is really cool. So
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. So it's mindfulappy.com. We'll put it in the description. Tina, thank you so much for joining the show.
So great to meet you, Aaron and Michael.
Yeah.
Follow your progress. If you have any questions about sales, M&A, finding companies, deal points, and you just want to get a sanity check on it, I'm always happy. Just I got a book me link in my email. You can book me anytime.
Great. We might even have you back on the podcast too, and maybe in the future we'll ask you some more questions about it.
A pinpoint in that maybe like 6 to 8 months away. That's going to be a really good time to do it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, cool. We'll have you back on then. That'll be great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.